The drive-by journalists are warning corporations, don't you dare pull back on pride. Don't you dive away from the controversy. No, you must support the rainbows in June or else we're coming for you. And yet, folks, it's having no impact whatsoever. We'll tell you why corporations likely are never returning to pride. And folks, it's an attitude of gratitude every single time you decide to click one of these videos. We appreciate it, and so we must bring you the latest news in a way that you will hear nowhere else. We understand the wokies in a way that not even they could possibly understand themselves. And folks, it's time to dive deep, to delve into what's really going on. Click the like button, share this out. And if you're not yet subscribed, well, dive on into what we've got right here on the Pro Channel. Look out, folks, it's the Paul Reveres, except, well, no, not in the rearview mirror. They actually are going the wrong way. The Journos are coming, and they are telling you a warning. Hey, companies, don't you dare stop Pride Month. And here it is from USA Today, Jessica Goyen. You know what? That's the best I got. Jessica is writing this one. These brands deserted Pride Month. It could cost them. Now, why would Jessica write this? Of course, I believe it is to spotlight these brands and make them sit in the stockades. We got to shame them and make them change their ways. Here's what it says. Levi Strauss & Company's Pride Collection celebrates queer motorcycle clubs as the community protectors who became symbols of strength, safety, and solidarity. A non-binary artist, Alva Skog, created a collection of rainbow clothing and gear, including a camping chair for REI. Apple has a Pride-themed sport loop watch band and Pride wallpaper. Abercrombie & Fitch, Made with Pride lineup is accompanied by a $400,000 donation to such things. But this year's Pride Month still has far less rainbow bling and fewer corporate sponsorships. Pride Month has suffered corporate defection since stuff emerged in the culture war flashpoint, and the Trump administration cracked down on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. With support for these kinds of issues shrinking, folks, get ready. It's time for the Journos to call out who is fleeing. And of course, they highlight the Go Woke, Go Broke backlash, Bud Light, Harley-Davidson, and Le Target. They call it Target, but I dare say, USA Today, you forgot Jaguar. It says, but that approach can have consequences too. And here's what it's trying to tell you. It says 77% of LGBTQ plus shoppers said they would pay more for a brand that meaningfully supports the people and issues that they agree with, according to new data from the Harris poll provided exclusively to USA Today. Okay? Neato. Now, my understanding is it's only about 10% of the population or less that identify in this way. So if 77%, you're talking about 7% of the population. I don't know that that's going to move the needle for these corporations, but let's keep going. Even when budgets are tight, nearly 3/4 of this 10% or less said they are likely to stick with brands that support causes or communities they care about. When a brand pulls back, that's a red flag for these shoppers, 42% of whom said they trust it less. That's a minority of the 10% or less. And 38% look for another brand. That's a very small minority of an already minority. The survey of nearly 5,000 U.S. adults, including more than 1,000 consumers of this variety, found a more muted approach to Pride may soften public blowback, but it also risks alienating customers who expect companies to stick up for their values. Here's a quote from Tim Osiecki, Director of Leadership and Trends at the Harris Poll. LGBTQ plus consumers are telling us that they notice when brands pull back, they can tell when support feels performative, and many change how they shop when support disappears. The problem here is, and they go on to talk about the companies and they're, blah, 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 blah. The deal here is we're still dealing with numbers that look big until you realize it's like 6 or 7% of the population we're talking about here. When we're talking about a minority of a minority that responds this way. So I don't think that they're getting their way with this. I don't think the Journos are succeeding. As we have talked about here on the show, support for Pride Month seems to be dropping. Even searches for Pride on Google are in decline. And that's not all. We also have been watching as young people, according to polls, are less interested in celebrating and supporting Pride. Entertainment companies are essentially all gone and out of this. Universal, the best they could muster was some sort of vague references to a rainbow, but Disney's out of it. The sports leagues are still in it. But Steve, it seems like the journos now, they've noticed nobody is shouting back at us and saying, you're wrong, pride's stronger than ever. Nobody's doing that. They all agree with this. Now they're just angry. So Steve, does this have any effect on the companies when they hear that a minority of LGBTQ plus IA plus negative greater than sign respondents will change the way they purchase, a minority of them?
Well, the thing that I was actually just looking up as you were talking is I was wondering, because the question that I have is, what have we seen since like Pride and all that kind of stuff has become like a big thing? What have sales drops been for just rainbow products in general, if there have been? And so now this is just full disclosure. I just did this into Grok. Promo products searches and corporate scaling back. Searches for Pride-related promotional products dropped over 50% from 2023 peaks through early 2025 data, hitting the lowest level since 2021. This reflects broader corporate pullback on Pride-specific items, and so people just don't care, and that's the thing that we're seeing. So if the people don't care, that means that there's no value in actually changing anything. So
right. Well, one of the things we've seen, Steve, is like at Disney World, they in the past they'd put out all of this merchandise, all of this rainbow
and
merchandise.
It sits.
Well, it goes. What we found out is it gets dumped. It gets dumped at what's the name of the place culture? The Cast
Connection.
Cast Connections. I started to say collections. I knew that was right. Cast Connections, where it's like discounted, 80% off, and they try to just get anybody to take it. And then if it doesn't work there, it goes to flea markets in Florida, and it sits there. So eventually it makes its way to landfills. This was also always virtue signaling. Let me show you a stat real quick out of this article, and then keep going, Steve. But the article, the same thing that's trying to make this argument, says at the same time the customer base is growing. Gallup estimates that almost. Let me hang on. I'll tell you what that means. Almost 1 in 10 U.S. adults identify as lesbian, gay, these other things, or something other than heterosexual. Higher than readings of 7% between 2021 and 2023, and more than double the share in 2012. Which, because of the plus sign, it can literally mean anything between they don't have an attraction to anybody else, or it can mean that they believe they're a pony. Like anything in that spectrum lands there. But folks, pay attention to that. Almost 1 in 10, okay, which is higher than 7%. Do you know what that means? It's either 8% or 9%, because 7%, we got to go higher, but it's not 10%. So it's either 8 or 9. So out of the 8 or 9%, remember it was 38% said they would not like it if a brand chose to back out of this, which is 3% of the total population. Yet we have a full article, shouting like these are big numbers.
Well, because the thing that I was looking into and trying to specifically find is, did this impact rainbow sales just in general, right? So thinking of like kids products, right? Erasers, whatever else. And basically the summary that it's giving, and again, full disclosure, I haven't verified any of this, but just the quick generic search is that companies are being very intentional about when these months roll around, like especially like Target or Walmart or whatever, they actually start to hide some of that product for marketed towards kids, because they've experienced that backlash in the past. And so people don't buy this stuff. They don't actually support it. That's why we've talked about this millions of times, right? The movies that have this as a thrust in kids movies, they always end up tanking in some way, shape, or form. Because horribly. People might with their words vocalize that they're supportive of all this stuff, but their wallets are not there. And where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And so we're not seeing the actual heart behind this. It's not something that people actually value. It's not something they cherish. It's not something that people in general are actually supportive of, while they just want to be left alone and don't care what you do with your life, but they don't actually support it. And so when people grandstand, it actually just turns people further away from a brand. That's why, and I think that article mentioned it, or I just remembered it, is like Harley Davidson versus Indian motorcycles. Like there was an ad that just came out, and Indian motorcycles just basically took Harley Davidson to the mat about being like all about actual motorcycles and creating a product that motorcycle enthusiasts will actually enjoy.
Well, do you remember Jaguar put out the woke ad after the Bud Light stuff? Do you remember that?
This was years ago, right?
Well, last year.
Was it last year?
This year, Jaguar had to report that they had a 99% drop in profits. 99%. So of course these companies, and then you've got USA Today trying to pretend these are huge numbers and what the potential backlash could be. I don't think these companies are listening at all. Carrie, do you remember what sunk Target?
What Target?
Do you remember what sunk Target, the retail chain?
No,
it was
I don't.
It was the little kids' bathing suits.
Yeah.
The swimsuits that were supposed to help biological boys hide the fact that they're biological boys built into the swimsuit.
So disgusting. Pushing that on children. People are tired of this. To Steve's point, if you look at studies, it's pretty interesting with surveys. We have been for the past, 40, 50 years on a steady incline. It's the support for gay marriage, for the quote unquote LGBT community kept growing until we hit like over 70 something percent in favor of gay marriage and saying
and then the plus sign.
Everything got added on the past few years. Since 2022, it's fallen off like 10 percentage points. And they don't understand what they're doing. Like I get some of these people pushing this woke religion in my comments and using vile language, filthy language, calling everyone phobes, trying to force what amounts to religious beliefs on people. And it's like, if you keep doing this, do you understand it's not working? Do you understand that your support has been declining for the past 4 years, 10 percentage points? Like keep it up if you want to see.
It's a terrible strategy for them. Terrible strategy. And yet you've got these journos who have no idea what they're talking about, trying to pretend that there's a real danger for the companies. The real danger was in being highly associated with this as it got hijacked by the plus. That plus sign, man, is a problem for everybody out there who is of that persuasion. The plus sign lets everybody into that group, and then good luck figuring out, what it is. It's so amorphous now you don't even know. And that's why you've got people in there who, pretend they're dolphins, right? They're flapping around outside campuses trying to find a sea mackerel or something. And welcome to the plus. Welcome to the plus. You're in, I guess. Panel, I don't think the corporations are coming back anytime soon. I really don't. I don't think there's going to be a rebound next year.
I think that maybe political leadership might have some effect over it, but I also believe that with this year, this June, we've marked another point in the road where this is continuing to dwindle. It started back in 2022 when these branding efforts for this month specifically started to be greatly reduced, and from 2024 to 2025, it was already being widely reported that approximately a 39% decrease in major corporations leaning into rainbow branding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think.
And you've got to remember, this doesn't just stand all by itself. The same people that are into this are into all of the rest of the left woke panoply of positions. And a very interesting thing happened just the other day. Texas now has more Fortune 500 companies headquartered there than California or New York or New Jersey. So if they're moving at that expense, it tells you something about their attitude towards all of this, right?
I think so. It's also like looking at this on the screen, what you have here, these brands, the headline you were reading from, these brands deserted Pride Month that could cost
It's
them.
all the companies, by the way. I mean, the ones that are listed, Carrie, we've looked this up. There are so few companies. It's basically all of them. They've listed almost all of them in this. Like there was a website that tried to list them out, and they were listing out things like Southern Cringe or something. I don't even remember now, but it's Bitter Southerner or something. It was like a magazine. They were desperately trying to find 10 companies still participating.
Well, the ones that still are participating are filthy and vile. The ones who are just completely given over to degeneracy. I don't know if you guys saw the HelloFresh ad that everyone's been talking about.
Oh, yeah. And then Blue Apron screwed that up too.
Yeah, and speaking of your point earlier, Lauren, that's a food company that chose to do a Pride ad associated with sexual degeneracy and the bathroom. I'll put it in the best terms
That's a
I can.
twofer.
Yeah. And so it's sort of like, you don't want a food company doing ads that make you think of, it was just gross all around.
Steve's proud of me.
Yeah. What? Oh, sorry. Did I miss it?
No,
See, and the purely financial question is, take HelloFresh. How many of their existing customers had no clue that they had this point of view and will turn them off versus however many they think are going to turn them on,
Yes.
should pardon the expression, because they did this? I would suspect that the numbers are not in their favor in that department.
Let old pro step in for a minute and dissuade anybody of believing the corporations are good and kind, and this time they can't do it. Okay, let me show you the cynicism that sits inside my soul. I think that the corporations, up until about 2 years ago, they saw Pride Month as Christmas 2.0. They saw young people, even if they weren't a part of this, they wanted to support this. And so they would buy the stuff. And they thought, oh, goody, it's a whole month. And there's a month leading up to it. And we'll figure out a way to get pride trees in the house. Like, we'll get rainbow trees in the house. And they saw this, I really believe they saw this as Christmas, bigger than Easter. This was Halloween level. And that's why the corporations got in. And as soon as the money went away, the companies went away. And now you can sit there and say, oh, company, you're going to regret this. They don't care. They just want money. It was always about money. And as soon as the algorithm inside the culture changed and the money went away, the companies went away.
Yeah.
So it's not Valentine's Day?
Well, in a certain way. Well, it's been a good time. It's been a great time, folks. It's been a groovy time, even. Keeping the Holly Weirds in line. We know them better than they know themselves. As we say goodbye, folks, please consider clicking that like button, drop a comment down below, and join the community dialogue today. And until the next time, we say it every time. Keep learning. Keep growing. And as always, keep having fun.